Now, from Sports Radio 810 WHB, it's the Border Patrol on 38 The Spot.
The power of sports.
It's showtime!
Now, on Sports Radio 810 WHB, Walker Linen Service, KC's premier linen service provider. Call locally owned Walker Linen Service today. And Coventry Healthcare, Kansas City's local health plan since 1976. Proudly present The Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is the Border Patrol live on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot from Monday, April 7, 2014. Stephen St. John and Aaron Swartz, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Start you off with the Kansas City Royals as they lose yesterday, the final game of the series against the Chicago White Sox. They dropped the final game 5-1. The Royals unable to come up with a sweep, despite the very good pitching performance from James Shields. He goes 7 strong innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Throws 102 pitches in his 7 innings, but Chris Sale was a little better. He goes 8 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He throws 111 pitches. Problem was the Royals had to go to the bullpen, although Kelvin Herrera was good. He pitched a clean inning. Tim Collins was not good. A third of an inning, 1 hit, 3 runs, 2 walks, no Ks. And Francisco Bueno, 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 hits and 1 run. And when that happens, Aaron Swartz, you know what we say, don't you? No bueno.
No bueno.
He was no bueno on the mound. It just doesn't get old. As far as the offense, hey, what offense, right?
This Chris Sale, huh?
Am I right? Well, it's a good pitcher, so you can't expect the Royals to hit him. Like with Verlander and Scherzer and Chris Sale, you just got to tip your cap to the pitcher. And you can't blame Mike Moustakas for this one. He was out of the lineup against a left-hander, as he should be. But Danny Valencia stepped into third base, hit in the 2-hole, and went 1 for 4. And also, Aoki took a seat for Justin Maxwell, so Omar Infante was your leadoff hitter. Alcides Escobar, he did get a hit. He was 1 for 3, so now your Mike Moustakas and Alcides Escobar update for the season. Mike Moustakas now 0 out of 15. So he did not damage his numbers anymore yesterday because he didn't play. But Alcides Escobar now, his average skyrockets 59 points in one afternoon after going 1 for 3. He is now 1 out of 17 on the year. So Alcides Escobar and Mike Moustakas have combined to go now 1 for 32 in the first week of the season.
That's exactly what you're looking for, right, out of those two guys?
No. Nope. But they'll be looking for something tonight as the Royals will host the Tampa Bay Rays out at Kauffman Stadium tonight. You can listen to Baseball Tonight, hosted by Nate Bukaty, tonight right here on WHB at 6 o'clock. But Jason Vargas will go to the mound for the Kansas City Royals, and he will take on Matt Moore of the Tampa Bay Rays. Will Myers will be in town playing for Tampa. And do you remember Jake Odorizzi?
I do remember him. What if we go out here and it's Will Myers goes crazy and Jake Odorizzi throws 8 scoreless? What would you do then?
Odorizzi's scheduled to start on Wednesday. Well, I mean, what can I do?
Right.
I mean, it's likely that Will Myers will have a solid series. He's a good player.
Same. Both those guys come in the series and just
I'm interested to
dominate.
see Odorizzi, though.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see
I always really liked him, and he was a nice guy, too. I mean, he was a good guy off the field, but I just have a bad feeling. Well,
so far, he's better than Wade Davis.
Let's not say much.
But James Shields has been fantastic. So. The people who like the trade, you'll never convince them that it was a bad trade. And the people that don't like the trade, you'll never convince them it was a good trade. But what I can tell you is Will Myers will be in Tampa a hell of a lot longer than James Shields will be in Kansas City. So. On Saturday night, he accepted his American League Rookie of the Year award in the ceremony at Tropicana Field.
Single tier. Hey, you can't go back in the past, Steven.
No, I've tried.
You can only go
several
forward.
times, and it doesn't work. And so hopefully we'll see the Royals and their bats wake up. But here's one of the big issues. We talked about one of the keys to trying to score more runs this year is going to be whether Mike Moustakas takes a step forward. I mean, you could throw in Alcides Escobar, but, you know, he's not going to be a big run producer anyway. You'd like to see him get closer to what he did in 2012, but even if you just split the difference and he was somewhere between 2012 and 2013 as far as his numbers, you'd be all right with it. But Moustakas has got to be better. And he was on the bench yesterday. And I have no problem with it whatsoever. Like I said from the get-go that it should just be a straight platoon. And he sits against lefties in favor of Danny Valencia. And we gave up David Lowe for Danny Valencia. And look, Danny Valencia rakes against lefties, period. Mike Moustakas does not. And I think you go with that platoon and give yourself the best chance to win. Valencia wasn't great yesterday, but he did go 1 for 4. He did something Moustakas hasn't done yet this year, and he got a hit. But until Moustakas is out there, ripping the ball off of right-handers and forcing your hand, go with the platoon. So right now, Moose isn't hitting anybody. So he's hitless in 15 at-bats and was on the bench yesterday in favor of Danny Valencia. Also, of course, tonight, you can listen to Baseball Tonight with Nate Bukaty at 6 o'clock, followed by Prelude to a Championship at 7, which will take you right up to the first moments, the opening tip of the national championship game between Kentucky and UConn. You've got a 7 seed and an 8 seed battling for the national championship tonight, as there were it was a fantastic game between Kentucky and Wisconsin that went right down to the wire, and Aaron Harrison did it again with a clutch 3 with 5.7 seconds left in the game to give Kentucky the 1-point advantage. He took a pass from his twin brother Andrew, and Aaron Harrison hit an NBA range 3, and he gave the Wildcats a 1-point lead. But then Trayvon Jackson had his last second shot, and it was not a bad look. A better look than I thought he'd get, but it rimmed out, didn't go in, and Kentucky advances to the national championship game to take on UConn. Surprisingly, they beat Florida, and they ended up beating them pretty easy by 10, 63-53, especially with the way that game started. You thought that game was over right off the bat. You thought that was going to be a freaking first-round knockout. I mean, it started off 7-0. It was 16-4. And, 8:57 with about 9 minutes left in the first half. It was 16-4 Florida, and it looked like UConn wouldn't be able to put up 40 against Florida's defense. But they come roaring back. They actually had a 3-point lead at halftime, 25-22, and they win the game 63-53 because of their backcourt. And Scotty Wilbekin had an awful game. And that's he's the guy that makes that team go. He was 2-9 from the floor, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc, and he only had 4 points. 3 turnovers and just 1 assist for the point guard from Florida. And so UConn did a hell of a job defensively on him, and they advanced to the national championship game to take on Kentucky tonight. A game that nobody expected. And I guess, even though the matchup leaves a lot to be desired, if you're looking for a reason why this game could be good and why it's compelling, is it's absolutely positively unpredictable. They could go either way.
No, absolutely. Nobody expected these. I didn't expect any of these two teams to be here. So, and a validation for John Calipari too. I think that That's why I think Kentucky's going to win. Just because I think that he wants to show people that, that he's the reason why this team is where they're at right now. I mean, they struggled so many times this year in the SEC. You said early in the 6 o'clock hour they lost to South Carolina, and they have not looked very good at points this season. So to have a national championship under your belt and to do it with all these young players, I mean, that's definitely a validation for John Calipari for sure. I don't know how you feel about Coach Cal. I don't know if you like him or not, but I know
he doesn't bother me as much as he bothers Nate and other people.
I just know a lot of people hate him. I get it because everybody always hates coaches that are good and are successful, and I understand that part. And he's a little oily sometimes. Don't get me wrong, but he.
His hair, like, what are you talking about, oily?
Just kind of how he goes about his business with some of these guys, these one and done guys. But I kind of like to see him. Kind of like to see him win it. Personally,
somebody sent me an interesting tweet over the weekend. He wanted me to pose the question, why nobody ever brings up what's happened in the past with John Calipari at his other stops. And I feel like people bring it up all the time. I mean, do you? Do you think he gets a pass?
Well, I mean, I think that, yeah, he's been unsuccessful at some stops, don't get me wrong, and it's had issues there.
Just his violations at UMass and Memphis. How come?
Because he's at Kentucky and he's winning.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of
history. Nobody cares if you win, you take like say the fans there. Do you think they really care?
I don't.
They went to the Final Four with him.
Kentucky fans don't care that he had any kind of violations.
Memphis fans do? You think UMass fans do? You think they?
I mean, maybe Memphis fans because you're kind of you have to give that one back. But I mean,
But do you really have to give it back?
No.
It happened.
No.
UMass fans try to just erase it. Well, didn't happen.
No.
It did.
No. Nope. I don't think so. I think you're right. I don't think people. When you win at a high level. I'm sorry, but even if people know that you went to the Final Four, you went to national championship games. No, I'm sorry.
One piece of bad news. You feel bad for a local kid. Kentucky center Willie Cauley-Stein, of course, was out of Saturday's game and will miss the national championship game because of that ankle injury. That sucks.
Which might make it even more impressive what they're doing without him.
Right, but I mean, local kid with a chance to play for a national championship. You'd love to see him play. Love to see him on the floor. So. That sucks. Back after this with more on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot.
Behind me is the all-new Canadian Dodge Durango. It's got it all, including a maple syrup-resistant glove box and 12.4 Capulls.
Yeah, just cracking on the side. Boom.
Capills. Kipples. Kilometers per liter. Kilometers per litre. I don't know what you want. I don't read Canadian.
We saw out there today was two number one starters at the top of their game. Both of them had their A game on the mound. That's as good as stuff as I've seen James Shields have. He had everything working, his fastball at 94, 95, a great cutter, great changeup, great curveball, and Sale, was right there with him. He had everything going. Both starters, just pitched a great game, both of them.
Royals manager Ned Yost talking about yesterday's pitching duel between James Shields and Chris Sale, won by Chris Sale. Something we look forward to. We'll look forward to all year long. Ned Yost talking about replays.
all those calls out there today were, bang, bang calls. Bang, bang calls.
Uh-huh.
They're tough to see. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell, on our call that we won if he was out or safe. It's one of those where you go out and buy a little time for the video guys to look at it, and, got the thumbs up and went ahead and appealed it. But, I think it's working fine.
Not just bang, bang, but bang, bang.
Emphatic.
Yes, the emphasis, not just, they weren't just bang, bang, they were bang, bang. Would you like to hear more from Ned Yost on
I would love to.
Play it.
They're making a real concerted effort to make sure that the calls get right. Major League Baseball's making it right, and it just goes to show you how tough a job it is to be an umpire, and in this day and age, because with the technology that we have now, you're gonna you don't have the ability to go back and look at it in your mind. You got to make a real time decision on a bang bang play, and those things are tough.
Bang bang.
But I think I think this is what we're going to see.
Tonight, the Royals back in action against the Tampa Bay Rays. Jason Vargas to the mound for the Royals. Matt Moore will pitch for Tampa. You can listen to Baseball Night with Nate Bukaty tonight at 6 o'clock, and then first pitch out at Kauffman Stadium tonight at 7:10. And again, tonight you can listen to the National Championship game right here on your home of the Final Four and your home of the National Championship game. Your home of March Madness, Sports Radio 810 WHB. A couple other basketball notes. Doug McDermott wins the Wooden Award as the Player of the Year. He was also named the Associated Press Player of the Year. Agree?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, with an exclamation point.
We've had North Dakota State coach Saul Phillips on the show before, and he helped North Dakota State get the big upset over Oklahoma in this NCAA tournament. Were you cheering for Oklahoma or North Dakota State?
I was cheering for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was cheering for Oklahoma for my brackets.
Well, North Dakota State says goodbye to Saul Phillips as he leaves to become the head coach at Ohio. He replaces Jim Christian, who left Ohio to take the job at Boston College. And some other news around the sports world. Sporting Kansas City and Real Salt Lake in front of 19,838 fans at Sporting Park, which is the 39th consecutive sellout at Sporting Park. They played to a scoreless draw on Saturday.
Our very own Nate Bukaty on that call, by the way. Nate Bukaty on the call on 102.9 FM last Saturday night. How about that?
Sporting Kansas City controlled the pace of play and outshot Real Salt Lake 20-5. In some football news, the Denver Broncos reach a 3-year deal on a contract extension with head coach John Fox. The final year of his current deal, or his former deal, was this year, 2014, so that tears up the final year of that deal, and now his contract runs through 2016. He would have received a $1 million bonus had Denver beat Seattle in the Super Bowl, but instead they lost 43-8.
I remember that.
Fox's record in regular season games with the Broncos is 34-14, and he's won 3 consecutive AFC West titles. Speaking of the AFC West, the Oakland Raiders are making some moves this offseason, and according to ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter, on Sunday morning, after his appearance Saturday night at the Final Four, Johnny Manziel flew to Oakland to meet with the Raiders. Now, wouldn't that be perfect?
I'm about to say, is there somebody who screams Raiders.
Johnny
maybe
Football.
more than Johnny Manziel.
He's already met with the New England Patriots. He's projected by Mel Kiper to go number 8 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. Todd McShay has him ranked as the number 20 overall draft prospect. The Raiders own the 5th overall selection in next month's NFL draft. They did acquire veteran quarterback Matt Schaub from the Houston Texans, but I don't think he's very good, and he's certainly not a long-term answer, so they still could be in the market for a quarterback in the draft. They went 4-12 last year with Terrell Pryor and Matt McGloin splitting time at quarterback. And Reggie McKenzie told reporters, acknowledged last month at the NFL owners meetings that Pryor likely will be released or traded soon. And also the Cleveland Browns have reached an agreement with free agent wide receiver Nate Burleson on a 1-year deal, according to Adam Schefter. And a couple of sad notes from the entertainment world. First, legendary actor and a favorite of my grandmother, who's no longer with us, Augie Ontiveros. She loved the Mickey Rooney movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
You ever watch any?
No, I've not. I'm sorry.
He died at the age of 93.
I thought he was a lot older than that.
It was Andy Hardy.
Yeah.
No idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
You know, he started his career in vaudeville.
I'm sure he did.
Why are you being so cold right now? Did you see him as the guard in the smash hit A Night at the Museum?
I thought he was older than 93, actually.
You know, his first wife was the glamorous Ava Gardner. And he married 7 more times, fathering 7 sons and 4 daughters.
So he got after it then, that's what you're trying to say.
I'm just telling you, he's married a lot. Do you remember you see, you're too young to remember The Black Stallion. It's a beautiful movie as a child. Nothing? Nothing I'm saying is...
No, not one thing.
Resonating with you at all?
Dana Carvey did an impression of him on Saturday Night Live, is that right? That's what I got.
He was one of the voices in the Care Bear movie?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I remember he was in a TV movie called Bill. I remember that. My mom loved that movie. Well, whatever. That's, whether you remember him or not, very sad. Do you remember comedian John Pinette? You do remember him. I could do one of his
I remember him.
Bits, but
yes, I remember him, and he was in Lake Tahoe 2 years ago.
Was he really?
And
was I there?
No, you weren't there. He wasn't very good.
He wasn't?
No.
I like John Pinette. He's 50.
Yeah, he
passed away over the a lot of people remember him from the Seinfeld finale. He was the
he's the guy who got mugged.
Howie, the helpless victim of a mugging and carjacking. And
they're making fun of his weight the whole time.
Seinfeld and the gang and the rest of them went to jail because they violated the city's Good Samaritan law.
He did a 5-minute bit about toast out in Lake Tahoe, so...
You don't think he was good?
He was not very good.
He always made me laugh when I was a kid.
He had an off night, I'll put it that way. But R.I.P.
Yes, R.I.P. to John Pinette. I thought he was very funny. See, you're a cold, heartless bastard sometimes.
I'm just telling you the truth. You said, do I remember him? That's the one thing I remember about him. That's it.
Back into this with Todd Lebo on WHB and 38 The Spot.
Behind me is the all-new Canadian Dodge Durango. It's got it all, including a maple syrup-resistant glove box and 12.4 Capoles.
Yeah, just cracking on the side. Boom.
Capeals. Kipples. Kilometers per liter. Kilometers per litre. I don't know what you want. I don't read Canadian.
This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi, everybody. Lebo here.
Well, hold on, Todd. Wait. We're going to set it down to North Texas, where Todd Lebo's reporting live from the Final Four. A little bit of
Hey, it's Lebo.
little music there for you from Todd Lebo's band, Gruff Ruppin'.
Your voice sounds different at Lebo.
It's not me. Hey, this coverage is brought to you by Gruff Ruppin'.
Is that right?
And State Farm for your home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com.
Go on.
And by AutoZone for the auto parts, accessories, and advice you need. Get in the zone, AutoZone. I didn't think this was going to happen right out of the chute like this.
So if that's not you, then who is it?
Well, there are two voices you hear there. One is Dwayne Wingate, who lives in St. Louis, and the other is Rob Allenbaugh, who lives in Blue Springs.
So then what are you doing in that song?
I was not there. I was literally not there.
Everything that I've been told is a lie.
Well, I've told you that 40 times in my life.
I don't think so.
You don't know. Hey, we are down here. I am. There's no we. There are other people in this room. But Serena's back in Kansas City now. We were down here on Friday, obviously doing some stuff from the Final Four. And I'm here today. It was a heck of a scene. I'll tell you what's going on down here, though, Stephen. But all kinds of, like, concerts and stuff like that. But yesterday, it was cold and rainy.
Did you go to Springsteen?
Did not. I mean, it was like in the 40s, and I was not prepared to like go out in the rain in the 40s. And they had a rule like you couldn't have umbrellas out there. I saw these stories on the news last night. All these people were just soaking wet, and there were piles of umbrellas over at this like place where you had to check in. You couldn't take any coolers anywhere, and there, there's all these security rules.
You got to go to Springsteen.
You know what? If it weren't cold and rainy, I probably would have done it, but no, it was. And
what did you do instead?
Oh, here's a little. We were talking about music earlier.
Right.
One of my least favorite things in the world is the Van Halen song "Jump."
Why?
I just don't like that song. I don't like the keyboards. Yes, you just played a song full of keyboards from Gruff Ruppin'. It wasn't my favorite thing. So I'm watching the news last night at like 10 o'clock. And Bruce Springsteen singing "Jump" by Van Halen.
That would have been awesome.
It would have been awful, and I would have been.
Why is it awful? What's wrong with that song?
I hate that song, but he was jump, because you jump with basketball. They showed they brought someone up from the stands, and they did a jump ball into the crowd with it was Stevie Van Zandt and Bruce Springsteen, which was they were not up really.
Who won that?
It looked like the Boss did. But they swatted into the stands, so someone got a basketball.
Silvio was up there.
Turn it off. So
this is a good. Wait. This is hold everything. Turn this up. Now, most of Kansas City will be tapping their toes and enjoying this song, and you're telling me you don't like this song?
It's probably my least favorite Van Halen with David Lee Roth song. There are plenty more awful songs with Sammy Hagar. And this should have been one of them. It should have waited a year to do this.
Did you ever like it?
No. Maybe the first time I heard it, then after they continued to show that awful video on MTV every day, that low-budget jump in the studio, just this sound
like slow motion jumping.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I'm with Lebo. I'm not a big fan of the song either.
I like this song.
I'm with you.
For a band that, I know how you love Panama, right? You guys play that a lot?
That's a great song.
You play those things back to back, and that's like 99% and 6% on goodness. That's what it is.
Well, before we get into other things that have nothing to do with sports, we talked a lot about the Kentucky win over Wisconsin, and Aaron Harrison for the third straight game with a clutch three, and this was
crazy.
A deep one, NBA range, hits it, but Wisconsin still had a shot. And Jackson didn't hit his last second, what would have been a game winner. But tell me what you thought of yet another big win, another thrilling win for Kentucky.
Well, my first thought at the end, after the shot went in, I thought Wisconsin probably made a mistake, and I thought this right when it happened by calling the timeout, because I thought Kentucky was really excited and jumping around. And if you don't call the timeout, maybe you get a chance to get a better shot, a closer shot.
Right.
Drive all the way to the rim. And it was funny. I'm sure you probably didn't see the Division III highlights, but that game happened earlier on Saturday. So during the first game of the tournament, they showed all these highlights from the Division III championship. And that's pretty much how that game ended. A guy hit a shot. the other team who was down did not have a timeout, so they just went straight down the court. Only had like 4 seconds. The guy made it all the way down and made a layup. And I thought Wisconsin is, as experienced as they were, that's a chance where you got to trust your guys to do it. I think it gave Coach Cal, I'm sure he was very happy they called the timeout, because he got to go coach his guys up and get them ready. Because the look Wisconsin got was okay, but it wasn't great. I mean, you're talking about like, what, a 16-foot kind of off-balance bank shot type attempt that wasn't great. But you can't say enough about what Kentucky has done this past 3 weeks of the tournament, and really what they did in the SEC tournament as well, because they did make the finals and they had the ball in their hands with a chance to win it at the end, and they slipped on the court and fumbled it away.
How do you let Aaron Harrison take that shot though?
Well, he's 4 feet behind the line, and he closed out on him too. It looked to me, I thought the possession was interesting because nobody else wanted to shoot. Boy, they were passing that thing around like hot potato, weren't they? And he's like, give it to me. I'll fire this thing up. It was an amazing scene. And, there are a lot of fans of all the schools down here on Friday night. And there were a ton of Wisconsin fans because they haven't been to the Final Four in a long time. It's been a great team all year long. But by far, they're more Kentucky fans. We had to have the lower level divided into like quadrants. Everyone had their tickets sold. But the top, where the unwashed masses would just buy their tickets.
That's a free-for-all.
That was, it was Kentucky heavy, no doubt about it. So it's a fun scene, and it's 79,000 people there. I got back to the hotel bar after the game, and there were some folks that we met from Connecticut who came down, didn't have tickets, and they couldn't buy them. Now, they called it sold out. I saw some couple spots in the very end zone at the top that looked like tickets hadn't been sold, or maybe just people bought them and wandered around the stadium or whatever. But this guy said they couldn't even buy a ticket, from anywhere. They were just gone on Saturday night, and it should be about the same, I would think, on tonight, because right after the second after the game's over, there's Florida fans selling tickets,
right,
and Wisconsin fans selling tickets. So those folks are snapping those babies up.
I feel bad too for Trevon Jackson, because the one free throw that Wisconsin finally misses comes back to bite him, and I don't know. As soon as he missed it, you knew. Or I just felt like, okay, Kentucky's going down, hit a three, and
think about this part, and this is what I was thinking as was going on. He makes all three, which I didn't really like that call. I guess it's a foul. I don't like that.
He got him in the air.
I know, but so if he makes all three, then I'm starting to think in my head, all right, what's the deal? Cal going to foul? Is he going to do like we always have that debate about?
Right.
Is he like he didn't do against Kansas, and never got to know because he didn't make all three of them.
All right, what about the game that took place before that when it was 16-4 Florida, but halfway through the first half, you thought this is going to be a snoozer? I mean, Florida's going to walk right through UConn and make it to the national championship game, and then UConn woke up, actually got the lead at the half, and ended up winning by 10. That was one of the more shocking turnarounds I've seen in a game that I can remember.
Yeah, because Florida had been so good, and they were playing good defense. Connecticut couldn't hit layups, all those kind of things. They had shut down Shabazz Napier, and it looked like UConn just kind of made a couple of adjustments. Said, all right, well, it's okay if you're going to take Napier away. We're not going to force things with him. And they did a wonderful job. And then Florida just couldn't buy a bucket after that. And then they started forcing stuff in the second half. They cut it down to 4 or 5.
Wilbekin was horrible.
Yeah, he was bad. That's a bad way for him to go out. But you got to give Connecticut a lot of credit. I mean, they've been good, man. They've come through this tournament. Not as dramatic a fashion as Kentucky's had, but they've had a couple of close games, especially what was their first one. They had to go overtime, is that right? Thinking back through my head. But they've been a good team, and they've got experienced players and good guards, and they always talk about that, have these good guards play. And I think it's a fun story with everything we've seen happen in college athletics the past few years, with teams leaving conferences dissolving, all those kind of things. UConn was a big, big part of what the Big East was all about for years. And then when all these other teams left the Big East, and UConn didn't get the invite to come to the ACC or the Big Ten, and they're in this league that if you ask most basketball fans, like go there tonight to the stadium and ask 79,000 people, if you're not a UConn fan, I bet you couldn't name 4 or 5 teams in the AAC. And now this team, who was on probation last year, and a brand new coach last year who used to play for them when they were finally making their rise up and becoming a special team in the Big East, they're here and they win. Wow, man, that's a heck of a story, because you could easily see how that can kind of fall by the wayside, and the entire athletic programs could be a little, down because they didn't get the invite to some of the other leagues.
Yeah, I actually picked them to lose in their first game. I had St. Joe's in the upset, and that game went to overtime. St. Joe's had that game won.
I think I had St. Joe's too, and I had St. Joe's winning the second game because I was not a believer in Villanova, and I think St. Joe's had just beaten Creighton, maybe in the. Now I get confused on what I remember seeing in the conference tournaments, but yeah, I didn't think much of Villanova, so I thought either the 7 or 10 would win, but who knew, man? Who knew? Just a crazy basketball season. That's what March Madness is all about, and we'll get more of it tonight out there. Hopefully, we have a fun final. It's an amazing building. I don't think it's the way I would choose to watch basketball all the time. And they don't do it all the time, so I guess we'd have to get used to it. But if they're going to have 79,000 people coming to these games and doing this stuff, then they're not going backwards. You're not going to see these things going back to half rounds in these football stadiums. They're going to keep going to these big places and loading them up.
What's going on behind you? What's going on out there?
I don't know what that noise was. I think there was a cart running back behind me here through the bowels of the hotel. Maybe they'll be bringing some breakfast out here soon.
And so, of the people you've had a chance to interview this weekend down at the Final Four, what's been the highlight for you?
Well, one of the conversations that's going on in college athletics altogether is the thought of unionization, the employee-employer model, stipends, different things like that. So we've asked a lot of folks about that, and we've been down here on Radio Row. If you've got a chance to listen on Saturday or Sunday during the TJ show, you think you know what someone's going to say. Mostly coaches are like, I don't think much of this. You're going to mess up what college basketball is all about, blah, blah, blah. And then you talk to some guys like we talked to Kenny Smith on Friday, and former player. He's like, no, it's great. Get what you can. Well, yesterday I had a chance to talk to John Thompson, and very entertaining, and it surprised me a little bit the way he talked. And so we'll probably play more of that a little bit later today, maybe on Soren Show or on Between the Lines, but it's probably on TJ's podcast as well. But I was surprised a little bit about what he said, because he was like, listen, when he was a coach at Georgetown, he said he would get a lot of money for shoes and things like that. And the shoe contract, he'd go in there and he'd show the check to the kids, and he'd say, here's the deal, I can't give you any of this money, but I'm going to get mine, so that's how it's going to be, And he said, listen, that's how life is. That's how the world is. Not everybody gets everything. These kids are getting a good education. And he said, and we talked about how the cost of an education at Georgetown is going to be different than the cost of education somewhere else, and how you going to do this. And he said a lot of the things that we've kind of already talked about the tax implications and all those things. And I thought he might be a little more on the side of the players, because he's kind of been an advocate for players and disadvantaged folks for a long time. But he surprised me a little bit with his answers. And we also had Daryl Griffith, Dr. Duncanstein, who will be in Kansas City getting inducted into the CBE, the College Basketball Hall of Fame, in November. He said, man, if I had a kid right now and he went to a school that was an Adidas school and the coach was getting paid a bunch of money to wear Adidas, he said he'd tell his kid to wear Nike. He said, what are you going to do about it? He'd ready to challenge it. So, there will be much of this debate. And the NCAA yesterday, Mark Emmert and Bob Bowlesby actually had a press conference about it. And, they're not ready to figure this thing out yet, and it's going to take a while to do. But these, I had a chance to talk to Dan Monson, who used to be the Gonzaga coach. Now he's at Long Beach State or Cal State, one of those schools out there, that doesn't have football. And, without football and without this tournament, if they end up kind of changing Division I in basketball and taking some of those things out, those schools won't have the money to do a lot of the things. So, once you start down this thing, everyone likes the idea of, there's a lot of money being made. It's getting made on the backs of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They should get a piece of that pie, and more than just a scholarship. You start doing that, there can be some real unintended consequences at a lot of these smaller schools. Like what would happen to UMKC if they didn't get the money that trickles down from this tournament? Who knows? Because they depend on this money coming in. So there's a lot of things that could really change college athletics. So that's one of the underlying stories that's not on the court. It's bubbling down here, and it will be for years to come, I think.
Who's your pick for tonight?
You know what? I'm going to take UConn. How about that for crazy?
That doesn't surprise me.
I think Kentucky, I said on Saturday, whoever wins between Wisconsin and Kentucky will win the game no matter what. I thought they were going to be playing Florida. My logic was Kentucky was not going to be able to beat Florida 4 times in a row, and I thought Wisconsin, with how well coached they were, they could kind of do it. But I'm just a little gut feeling. It says UConn's going to win tonight, so they'll lose by 18. So,
thank you very much, Todd Lebo. You have a safe trip home.
I will, buddy.
That's Todd Lebo live from North Texas, covering the Final Four for us. Had a bunch of great interviews, and you can hear more of those on our podcast page at 810WHB.com. The sit-down with John Thompson, really, really good, so I encourage you to check that out. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will get your forecast from Gary Lezak right here on WHB and 38 The Spot.
Behind me is the all-new Canadian Dodge Durango. It's got it all, including a maple syrup-resistant glove box and 12.4 capulls.
Yeah, just cracking on the side. Boom.
Capulls. Kipples.
Take it like this.
Kilometers per liter. Kilometers per litre. I don't know what you want. I don't read Canadian.
Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot for Monday, April 7, 2014. Thanks to Todd Lebo for reporting live from the Final Four down in North Texas. Now let's say hello to Gary Lezak. Hello, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to the national championship game tonight. The Royals game tonight. The Royals need to win. Moustakas, interesting. You know, when he gets back on the field tonight, he's in this interesting situation where he's 0 for 15.
Right.
The next 5 at-bats, if he gets 5 at-bats tonight, every at-bat is worth 50 points. So if he goes 5 for 5, he's batting 250, just like that.
There you go.
1 for 5, it's 50. 2 for 5, it's 100. 3 for 5, it's 150. 4 for 5, it's 200. 5 for 5 is 250. But if he goes over 5 and it keeps happening, it's going to be harder to get back up there.
Just worry about that first hit. How about
Let's get that first hit. Let's get that first hit tonight.
Alcides Escobar got his first hit yesterday, so now he's 1 for 17. If he can do it, Moustakas can.
Right?
That's right.
Oh, my goodness. We'll see what happens. Weather-wise, we're looking pretty good. I think that we're going to have some really good weather next couple of days, but today there may be a few rain showers. There will not be a rain out tonight, so don't worry about that. I would head on out to the game and support the Royals, and it should be pretty good. There's a few showers possible, and there may be a sprinkle or a shower, but nothing too significant. And a high today of about 62 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny and 60, and then Wednesday into Thursday in the 70s. So it's looking very, very nice for middle part of the week. Next weekend, Stephen, the pattern's cycling back through according to the LRC, and a big storm, the one that actually produced our first snowstorm on December 20th, that's the part of the weather pattern we're in right now, and it's going to bring us a strong cold front. I don't think it'll snow, but we'll see. It's going to be close, believe it or not. I'll freeze next week, so if you put the plants out, keep that in mind. Freeze next week, and some rain over the weekend. So
cover your tender vegetation.
Monday we'll have to discuss that tender vegetation.
Thanks. So
we'll be discussing it.
Who's your pick
tonight?
Well, who's your pick?
Kentucky all the way.
Kentucky all not even close, or what?
No. Are you not even close? Don't they play? Isn't every game coming down to a 3-point shot near the end?
Sure. Well, UConn beat Florida by 10.
Oh my goodness.
You got Kentucky?
I think it'll be close. Very close game.
All right.
It's going to be great.
Where are you watching it at?
I am going to be at 41X News at our studios. Where are you going to be?
I don't know. Probably home.
Probably home.
Where I belong.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, but I'm going to watch it at the station. It should be exciting final to the ridiculous, weird tournament. It's been great. It's been fun watching Kentucky. I didn't think it'd be fun to watch Kentucky. And then I hear Calipari say something like, I think we should make a rule where the players have to stay for 2 years. Why? So you have 2 great years every time? Oh, my goodness, Stephen. What do you think?
Well, it'll be 2 out of 3 national championships for him if they win tonight, so I think he's doing all right.
I think so, too. I agree.
He's figured out the system.
Right now, Stephen?
Yes.
It's 43 degrees outside. So you don't have to cover that tender vegetation next week. Next week you have to do that.
All right.
All right, there you go. There's your forecast. We'll be listening to Stephen St. John and on Sports Radio 810. Right now we're on 38th The Spot as well. And here is First Mortgage Solutions, Ryan Wiebe.
All right, Gary. With low rates back on the board, could you be saving more money every month? Give my team a call at 816-778-7000 or go to firstmortgagekc.com and fill out a full online application.
We will be back to wrap up the show on 38th The Spot right here after this on WHB.
Behind me is the all-new Canadian Dodge Durango. It's got it all, including a maple syrup-resistant glove box and 12.4 Capulls.
Yeah, just cracking on the side. Boom.
Capills. Kipples.
Take it like this.
Kilometers per liter. Kilometers per litre. I don't know what you want. I don't read Canadian.
WHB.
All right, thank you to Todd Lebo for coming on the show live from the Final Four in North Texas. Also, Gary Lezak just gave you the forecast and told you to cover up your tender vegetation starting next week. Can you do that, Aaron, or not? Will you?
Of course I can do it.
Thank you. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Royals beat writer from the Kansas City Star, Andy McCullough. Also, Billy Butler later on in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Alden Smith in the 9 o'clock hour. So a lot of good stuff for you coming up. So stick with us on the Border Patrol right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.